Assessment and appeals to order. We'll have a roll call. We need a roll call?
Sure. Dan
Here.
Chumney.
Here.
Ryan Van Gorp.
Here.
Larry Hafner.
Here.
Ken Anderson.
Here.
Thank you. We have an agenda in front of us here. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Not very extensive. It should be easy to look over. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move. I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Here we are. We'll add you to the roll.
Thank you.
Let's see, where are we? Minutes. Okay, we have the guidelines for public testimony. I don't think we need that.
Forgo those, yes.
The hearing is for, this hearing is to, for the variance for Thomas and Colleen Haberlein, Adam and Jessica Haberlein, Union Township.
We should approve the minutes.
Oh, I thought we did. Oh,
You just mentioned them.
okay.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's been a motion made, a motion and second to approve the minutes as presented. Are there any, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, minutes passed. Aaron, you want to read the posting for the variance requested?
Certainly. Please take notice that an application was received from the following persons for a variance of setback requirements. The application being made by Thomas and Colleen Haberlein, and as well as Adam and Jessica Haberlein. Of Union Township, a hearing on this application will be, the request is for a variance of 410 feet, which required quarter-mile setback from the existing feedlot to build a dwelling. A hearing on this application will be held at the Houston County Commissioners Room, Caledonia, Minnesota, at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, November 7th. And that was advertised on October 24th.
I'll entertain a motion to recess the Board of Adjustment meeting and open the public hearing to consider the application.
I move, so move.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to recess the Board of Adjustment and open the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Do any of the members wish to recuse themselves at this time from a conflict of interest for this request? Hearing none, we'll move on. Aaron, you want to present the staff report?
Sure. The co-applicants in this case, present tonight, currently live in a dwelling on this parcel. And what they're proposing to do is build a new dwelling at a different location on that parcel. Much of the parcel is within setback requirements from feedlot to both the south and the north. Within your staff reports, the information on the location of feedlots is presented. I will let the applicants discuss the rationale for why they want to locate the house where they do. I will note that it's a further distance from the feedlot in question than the present dwelling they currently live in. Additionally, an alternative site was selected by staff as a reference point when doing the analysis. This site was located outside of the setback requirement, and for many of the criteria presented in the staff report, we provide analysis on both the proposed site and the alternative site. I'll also let the applicants, I guess, touch on some of the criteria that differentiate the proposed site from the alternative site that was selected by staff and maybe any other possible location on the parcel. I would open up to any questions from me on the staff report.
No questions? Okay.
Maybe the one, does this change the requirement for the feedlot to the south at all? If they wanted to add buildings or anything like that, does it change their requirement for variance?
It does. So right now, the requirement for that feedlot would,
They are still within the quarter mile of the residency already, so,
yeah, that's a good point.
so I don't think it, from my looking at it, it didn't seem that it would change, but I wanted your opinion on that. They would still have to get a variance from the board in order to do upgrading on their feedlot.
To do any sort
Because of the current residency also.
And that would only be the case if the proposal on the feedlot was to the north. So whatever distance we have from the current dwelling or the new dwelling to the closest feedlot component would be
Right.
the limit if they wanted to build to the east or to the south, a new
Yeah,
confinement
but
building.
they basically building from just minor expansion on the existing feedlot.
Right, if it came further to the north, then yes, that would be a variance request, but it would be a variance request
Either way.
due to the current house or.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. It doesn't change the fact that they would have to have a variance
This doesn't make it
Make
more
them-
restrictive.
for that feedlot. That's what I'm getting at.
Right, I believe that is correct, yes. I guess I'll also note that as part of the application submission, the applicants submitted signed statements of support from neighboring property owners, including the owner of that feedlot to the south.
Now, are there any other residencies in that quarter mile radius of that feedlot that are also, besides this one, that living within that quarter mile? I think there's one right across the road from them also.
Yeah,
So
there could likely
They're,
be.
they're going, no matter what, they're going to have, if they want to expand that feedlot, they're within a quarter mile of another residency, or there's other residencies within that quarter mile.
There are some nuances to the feedlot expansion criteria, so if they're just looking at stocking animals.
That's not going to be a factor either way, right?
They may not need, there's a process
Yeah,
where
yeah.
maybe could forego the. variance
But if they were
process.
going to add, say, another building,
Correct, then.
that's
they
what I'm
would-
referring to.
Yeah,
And it doesn't really change that criteria with this proposal.
not from the north. I didn't look at the setback requirements from other directions.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, we'll open it up to, well, not the public, but you want to state your case, what you're doing, and why you want to do it.
Well, we would like to build a new house, and we have our proposed location because of highway. We'd like to move the house back away from the highway because of noise concerns, and if we have children in the future, that our house that we are now living in is located 112 feet or something off of the shoulder of Highway 44. And the reason that we chose the location that we have selected is because it's a straight shot down. A driveway would be going down the field road as it is right now. We would not have to utilize any cropland to get to the new dwelling. We would have to utilize new cropland. It is in production right now. And what we would do would be, if we could, we would build a house there, and what is above where the existing farmhouse is, we would turn into cropland. It'd just be a flop, if that makes sense to everybody.
It's your intention to remove the existing property, right?
Yes.
I was wondering about the quarter.
Yeah, at the point at which, should the variance be granted, at the point at which they would apply for a zoning permit, we would add a stipulation that it must be removed or it must be repurposed for some other use than a dwelling. But I believe their intention is to remove
Yes, correct.
All, the house and all the outbuildings.
Correct.
What's the downside of the proposed change?
For the alternate
Yeah.
site, you're saying? The,
Unless you have anything else you want to go, I don't mean to move you along here.
no. The reason we would like to build is because if we were to go down to the alternative site, we would be taking pasture away from my parents who farm the land right now.
Okay.
I would like not to intrude onto the pasture and take away any more than, I'm like, yeah.
Then I'd be a longer driveway, and where the driveway would go, it always drifts really, really bad down there. So we'd have a more maintenance cost on keeping up the driveway.
I would add, just to the minutes, that the slopes at the alternative site are about twice as steep as the proposed site, so that, you know, may be an advantage, may be a disadvantage, but it's a difference.
Mm-hmm. And you're, with the building and removing the other one, you're gonna be equal
Yes, I do
in
not intend to exceed.
tillable
the-
land.
Yes, I do not intend to exceed the amount of land that we already have for the farmstead now. It would be the same or smaller. So,
Okay, yeah. Any other questions? I guess we can't, doesn't make sense to open it up to the public.
No. These applicants have been working closely with my office throughout the
Uh-huh.
application process, and I've had ample time to ask questions of them.
You don't have any additional comments since all this public input there?
Going through your analysis, I believe, the proposed site is a little bit further away from the feedlot in question
yes,
than the existing house.
yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I figured the feedlot, the variance is like a third, I think, of what the,
It's 400 feet, yeah, the standard setback is 1320.
yeah. So it's about a third. I mean, it isn't, it's different if you're on 80% or something.
This is your family's,
This is, the land that we're looking at right now is in my mom and dad's name, the 80 acres is.
how long have you lived in the house that's,
We have lived in the house for approximately 4 years now.
Okay.
you know, much of the reason for that feedlot setback is to discourage land use conflicts between, you know, smells and noises associated with agriculture and folks who are living nearby who may find those smells and odors and sounds offensive. How have you found, how has your 4 years been in that house?
We haven't had any issues with them whatsoever, none to speak of.
Are you part of the farm,
Yes,
the
I-
farm operation?
Yes, I help my mom and dad as much as possible on their farm, so.
So it's not new to
But
you?
that's not the
It's-
one with the feedlot, is it?
No,
That's a
no,
separate operation.
That is a separate operation, correct. Yes, and no, I have not had any issues with those individuals at all, so.
Good.
And you mentioned helping, and I'm just trying to drive home the point that the purpose of the control is maybe not a reason why it would be problematic for these folks to build. You helping your mom and dad on their farm, should we take from that you grew up on a farm?
Yes, I did, yes, correct.
So you know what you
I'm aware of
So what you're
everything,
getting
well, I
into.
shouldn't say everything, but a lot of stuff that goes on a farm.
Doesn't even phase us anymore.
No.
All smells like farm.
Kind of enjoy it after a while.
Yeah.
Smells like money.
Yeah. Well, do we have any other discussion? Do we want to close the public hearing? I'll entertain a motion to conclude the public hearing and reconvene the Board of Adjustment.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and second to close the public hearing and reconvene the Board of Adjustment meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. For the record, have any of the members of this committee visited the site?
I have. I have not.
You want to comment on it?
It seems reasonable. I mean, I couldn't find an objection. It seems like the right thing to do if you're gonna have kids and a dog. So, and I didn't see a downside in this proposal at all.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree. I didn't see any reason not to allow this. And in fact, it is a little further from the feedlots, and there's still gonna be one house, one dwelling in this space, so I didn't see any downside to it.
Thank you. Any other discussion with the board or any input from you, Aaron?
I guess I'll just get in the record too, that if we are looking at traffic as a reason why a house might not need to be or want to be closed, this is one of the most traveled roads in the county.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how much further away are you gonna be?
We would be, what was it? I think it's 600 or some odd feet
Oh, really?
away from the highway.
Yeah,
If,
that's-
you know,
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
it's quite a distance.
Mhm.
If I remember. The current one is almost, well, your lawn is right to the highway ditch. if I
Correct, yes, we
remember
mow
right.
right up to the highway. Yep.
Now you'll have corn in front
What's that now?
of you. Now you'll probably have corn in front of you.
Good sound protection.
Yeah.
Probably the only thing I would add is that when the planning commission, when they apply for the permit, to make sure that the condition is that they have to remove the other house so that there is not a violation of this one house per quarter.
That's part of the planning commission, planning, part of the, not planning commission necessarily, the permitting process to
It
do
would-
that.
if-
We can put it in there.
We could certainly put
Yeah.
it in there.
Include it. Are we ready for the findings, unless anybody else has any questions?
I'm just working on a proposed condition for them. What type of time frame do you all have in mind in terms of removing that house? 12 months after the completion of the new house, or what kind of time frame?
That's what I was understanding, is we had 1 year to get rid of it after.
It's typically perfectly acceptable to me if I'm doing just a zoning permit, is that?
That's good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Are we ready for findings?
Yep.
Okay, so I will read the requirements, read the staff analysis, and ask for a vote by roll call and any comments you might have. If you subscribe to the staff analysis, you can simply say as much. If you subscribe to somebody else's comment, you can simply say as much. I need at least one reason for votes either way. Finding number 1. The variance request is in harmony with the intent and purpose of the official controls. The analysis from staff is that as a policy, the comprehensive plan lists the preservation of historically tilled ag land, which the request does. As a justification for limiting non-farm development, the comprehensive plan cites minimizing urban-rural conflicts that can result from close proximity between residences and operating farms. Presumably, the setback requirement of a house from a feedlot is an implementation of this concept. The board may consider that the applicant's current house is located in close proximity to active feedlots, as this may be an indication of the likelihood of future conflicts. Let's go with Ken Fisker.
You want to, yes?
Yes or no to the the finding
Staff,
that it is or
yes.
is not, and then a reason if you want to offer a reason.
It's gonna actually be, according to you, it's gonna be further, this house is gonna be further from the fields, and there doesn't appear to be any conflict at this point anyway, so I don't think there's a conflict issue.
Dana?
Yes, same reason, because it's, as Ken said.
Brian?
Yes,
Larry?
Yes, I believe it'll benefit pretty much everybody involved. And the staff analysis.
Ken Anderson?
Yes.
Number 2, there are practical difficulties in complying with the official controls, and the proposed use of the property is reasonable. Economic considerations alone do not constitute practical difficulties. Analysis from staff is that State 44 represents a practical difficulty due to the traffic noise it creates and the potential danger of having a yard for children to play very close to a highway with a high volume of high-speed traffic. A second consideration is the tillable cropland actively being farmed, which the applicants wish to leave undisturbed, and the pasture to the east where the alternative site was identified. The proposed location was selected in order to avoid the noise and hazards presented by State 44 and avoid impacting existing prime cropland and pasture. The alternative site utilizes some pasture area, requires increased driveway length, and requires construction on steeper slopes. The board may find that State 44 represents a practical difficulty, and it is reasonable to grant the variance to avoid requirements of the alternative site or other sites. Dana?
Yes, because of the fact that it's getting the house farther away from a highway, and it would be difficult to raise children next to a highway, I believe.
Brian?
yes, and I just don't see any downside to what's happening here. It's an improvement for everyone involved.
Larry?
Yes, I agree with staff analysis, particularly the part of having children not by the highway. That's a big deal, I think.
Ken Anderson?
Yes, I agree with staff analysis about preserving both the crop and pasture land.
Ken Visker?
Yes, the alternative site doesn't really make it better. It just requires more effort and expense. So this is a reasonable one, the one that's proposed.
Number 3, the variance request is due to special conditions or circumstances unique to the property and not created by the property owner. Analysis from staff is the northwest of the southwest quarter is the likely building location on the existing parcel due to its proximity to State 44. Building on much of the quarter is limited by feedlot setbacks from both the north and the south. Traffic counts on this section of State 44 are estimated at 4,400 trips per day. Staff estimate this to be in the top 5% for the county, making it relatively unique. As a reference, the section of State 16 connecting the city of Houston to the city of Polka has half that traffic count. Brian?
Yes, I agree with the staff analysis.
Dana?
Yes, I agree with the staff analysis.
So going backwards, sorry about that.
You threw me for a loop.
Larry?
Yes, I agree with staff analysis.
Ken Anderson?
Yes, I agree with staff analysis.
And Ken Visker?
Yes.
Number 4, the variance cannot be alleviated by a reasonable method other than a variance, and the minimum variance which would alleviate the practical difficulty is sought. Analysis from staff is that the alternative site presented above presents a means of alleviating the practical difficulty without a variance. Doing so would require increases in initial and maintenance cost of the driveway, which the BOA can rely on in part to make a decision. In addition, slopes at the alternative site are steeper, though within the range accepted for building. Lastly, farm use of land is a consideration. The applicant has stated a need to retain the current pasture available on the property. Larry?
Yes, I agree with staff analysis, and if I remember right, he said their driveway is already being used as a farm road.
Ken Anderson?
Yes.
Ken Visker?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Number 5, the variance will not alter the essential character of the locality nor substantially impair property values or the public health, safety, or welfare in the vicinity. Analysis from staff, the proposal is not untypical for the area or county. The existing home on the property and nearby homes are located within a quarter mile of the feedlot. No impact is anticipated. Ken Anderson?
Yes, I agree with the staff analysis.
Ken Visker?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes, I agree with staff analysis, and I think that contrary to substantially impair the property values, they will improve it, if anything.
Lastly, number 6, the request is not a use variance and shall not have the effect of allowing any use that is not allowed in the zoning district, permit a lower degree of flood protection than the regulatory flood protection elevation, or permit standards lower than those required by state law. Here the analysis is the request is for an area variance. It's a measurable distance we're looking to reduce. A dwelling is a permitted use in the ag district, and the site is not located in a floodplain. Ken Visker?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes, I agree with the staff analysis.
Larry?
Yes, staff analysis.
Ken Anderson?
Yes.
Okay, those are the 6 findings required. Proposed condition, there's some suggested wording. The existing house must be removed no later than 12 months after occupying a new house. Open to suggestions or modifications on that, or praise, or however.
The proposed new house in that proposed location.
Sure. The existing house must be removed no later than 12 months after occupying the proposed new house.
How about house and outbuildings, because that is the proposal.
What's that?
House and outbuildings, they're gonna also tear down the outbuildings because they're gonna turn this into farmland. That's the proposal, is to exchange this land for that land.
I guess the only reason I would say no to that is the time parameters. We're more concerned about the house than we are the outbuildings. If it took an extra year, I think they will, intent is to remove them, but I'd be rather willing to give the outbuildings a little more flexibility on the time.
Yeah, I think it's good that you're doing that, but I don't know that we need to make this dependent on it, do we?
No, on the outbuildings, I don't think so. The house I understand, because
Because it's
that's
one
the
and a
second,
quarter
would be a
quarter.
second
Yeah.
potential residency, and we don't want that. But the rest of the buildings, they're not out of compliance with property.
No, but the proposal here is to use up this chunk of farmland for a building because I'm going to restore this building site to farmland. So it's kind of a an apples to apples
Right.
exchange.
My primary reason for saying no is to give it more flexibility on time.
It's just, you have any issue with that, or you wanna propose a different timeline for them to consider?
The red shed will be coming down before the house is built, the one further to the east, because that's where the driveway's gonna come to. So that one will definitely come down before we even start, I mean, the house is finished.
How many buildings are there?
There's 2 outbuildings
Okay.
at the time.
And one for sure is coming down.
One for sure, one will be coming down before construction would even begin.
Do you have a problem with a year timeline on any of that?
It might be a little tight, but I should be working on it anyway, I can say that, I'm taking the other shed down.
Well, my issue is, I don't know that this should be dependent on that. Are we saying that that's it's necessary for that to happen for,
I think the connection is there in the way that Brian explained it, that, if we're putting into the comp plan of preserved farmland and it's presented that way, you don't have to, but I think you have enough of a connection that if you wanted to, you could. I think if their intention is to do that anyway, we might focus on, 18 months instead of 12 or something that makes it not such a strain or stress on them while they're
yeah,
looking to build
I
a
mean,
house as well.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Does that seem?
all right.
That's fine, yep.
Aaron,
Okay, so-
Aaron, I got a question.
Yeah.
How do we determine date of occupancy? What determines that factor? If you're gonna say a year.
When they have the good.
He might
the
live
housewarming.
he might live in the old house for a while, and she might live in the new one.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
That's not a bad idea.
Well,
How
first, I think
how do we determine occupancy?
we do have language in the ordinance that allows for certificates of compliance for any new build. We typically only do those if we're requested to do so from a bank or from a landowner. I think this type of language primarily serves as something we can rely on if in 2 or 3 years we notice the house is still there. At that point, we would follow up. It's not that I've got a calendar and I'm crossing the days off waiting to go out there and say, your house was supposed to be down this day, it's so that the
Well,
long-term goal.
I just asked because we said a year after occupancy. You gotta,
I mean, we could specify
it doesn't matter, I'm just,
a
trying
date
to
as well,
clear,
which is easier in that regard, but then if things change with their construction plan. it
Construction
becomes
don't,
problematic.
yeah.
Yeah,
Is that satisfactory?
the way it is, you mean, yeah.
I mean, that it's not, I'm not watching a calendar, it's
Yep.
just there in case we need to go out and say.
okay,
you
yeah,
know,
it just
the house
uses it
is
that
going
way,
down.
yes.
Would we refuse this request if the outbuildings weren't removed?
Not, by, I mean, wouldn't have to, you could if you.
No, I'm just asking. I mean, I wouldn't.
I would.
If they said to me,
You would?
I
we're gonna
would.
leave those
I don't either.
outbuildings there, it would be the same to me. I would still wanna grant the request. So I think the issue of the outbuildings is really, for me, not an issue.
Right, I'll agree with you on that, Kenny.
Yeah, I guess that would be, what we're really, I always try to be as less restrictive as we can. And if, you discover, wow, that's really a great place to store something. And you,
I'll read the proposed condition, but anybody would be free to make a motion that includes it or does not include it. You can handle it that way. Right now, what I have is the existing house and outbuildings must be removed no later than 18 months after occupying the proposed new house.
Is that a problem?
I don't think so.
I'm good with that.
So we could take a
voice vote, or,
voice vote on the final, but it would be on a voice vote would be on a proposed motion from a member.
all right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the findings as stated with the condition that we have discussed.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and second to approve the finding as presented. Do we have further discussion, or we just go right into the vote?
You handle it either way. I'm going to discuss it here.
Question.
Yes.
I'm calling the question.
Oh, All right. We'll do a voice vote.
Ken Visker,
Yes.
Dan Jones,
Yes.
Brian Van Dorn,
Yes.
Larry Haff,
No.
Ken Anderson.
Yes.
Larry, you were no, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I guess I would.
Motion
Motion carries.
carries. All right, then we need a motion to approve or deny the request. Motion must specify what is being approved, denied, including special conditions.
And I think that's what I
Just did.
intended you to just do.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
That's what I thought we were doing.
Yeah, I
I
thought,
thought we were voting on it.
that's right.
Well, we did the motion on the findings. Now we're saying,
Okay.
now we're saying, are we gonna recommend approval or denial?
Sure.
I move we grant the variance with the condition that the outbuildings be removed, the house and outbuildings be removed within 18 months of occupancy of the new house.
Have a motion and second to approve the request. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The request has been, will be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors. And that will be, Aaron will let you know when that is.
Yeah, you would work with me at this point, just we're making a final decision here tonight on your variance request, so that has been granted. We will get you your variance order in the mail, and you can get in touch with me regarding moving forward on the permit.
Oh, that's right. This doesn't, I'm sorry, this doesn't go to the this doesn't go to the supervisors, does it?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, you got it. My mistake.
Oh, right, yes, so we want to record this to the correct parcel, so we'd be looking for you to do that with the auditor's office before we record this, just so we avoid staying with the wrong parcel. You guys are set, you're off the hot seat.
You go home and make
All
sure.
right.
Hey, yes, you're welcome.
Good luck.
Thank you for your time. Thank
You bet.
Thank you for your time.
Good luck.
Yeah, the same idea.
Well, we're
Yeah.
in board meeting. Next, we have a request by, who was it, David and Sharon Giles. 8-foot variance to meet the required, I'm sorry, go ahead and read it.
Please take notice that an application was received from the following persons for a variance of setback. The applicants are David and Sharon Giles. They are seeking a variance of 8 feet to meet the required 25-foot setback from the toe of a bluff, as well as a variance to allow a structure on a buildable area 2/10 of an acre in size in Caledonia Township. A hearing on this application will be held at the Griffin County Commissioners Room, Caledonia, Minnesota, at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, November 7th. This was advertised on October 24th.
I'll entertain a motion to recess the Board of Adjusted meeting, an open public hearing to consider the application.
Before we go to that, Aaron, I just don't understand, in this little box you drew here, there's another little box in the corner. What is that for? Or does it mean anything?
Yeah, I don't think I prepared that. That was, I believe, submitted by the applicants.
Here, there's a red
we can-
rectangle on here, and then there's a little rectangle in the corner of the big rectangle, and I'm just
We can
wondering
make
what
that part of the open meeting, can't we?
Yeah.
Do we have a motion to close the Board of Adjustment and open the public hearing? I think we could discuss that with that.
It's fine. I'll move that.
Second.
We have a motion and seconded to recess the Board of Adjustment, open the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Does anyone wish to recuse themselves at this time from a conflict of interest concerning this request? Hearing none, we will move on. Aaron, you want to present the staff report?
Sure. It's a parcel with a long history. It's been split and joined several times.
It looked like it.
In the early 80s, and for the date here, 1984, the prior owner received a CUP to build a house on 10 acres. The result of that, up until recently, was a garage. It's unclear as to whether that garage was a house or if that was an accessory building for a house that never came. After that, the property was sold several times. The garage that had been built in the 80s was later removed, and now they're seeking to put in another, it would be a primary structure because there is no home, but it would be not a dwelling, it would be a recreation shed. Locating a building like that's gonna require a CUP as well. It's not an ag building, it's not a dwelling, and therefore it's not a enumerated primary structure. The site is challenging. If in '84, when the CUP was granted for the house, there were not any standards for bluff development. At that time, the site was, a level site was created at the toe of what would have been the toe of this bluff. This
When
site-
were those rules put in place about the bluff development?
I don't know if I would have tried to approximate a year 98 maybe, well after that. And actually, I guess the rules for bluff development clearly stating that there's bluffs outside of shoreland, those were done in 2016 before there was some ambiguity about whether bluffs are only in shoreland or bluffs are anywhere where you have a slope and a change in elevation that meets a certain standard. The site that was leveled in 84 or thereacabouts is not enough area for a buildable site these days. Approximated at about 2.2 acres, 1 acre, 9/10 of which is buildable for a buildable site by ordinance. I do note in here, however, that the rationale for that requirement is likely tied to septic system requirements. So it may or may not be something that ought to, in this case, be a limiting factor, given what they're proposing. Some additional excavation has been done in more recent years. Currently, they're proposing
Was that done with a permit?
no permit was issued for that. I don't know that we would have needed one. It's triggered by volumes. So I think I stated here, I believe it's 10 cubic yards that triggers it in a bluff zone. It's hard to do those after the fact to come up with. To do it before the fact, I suppose, but after the fact, it's hard to say, yes, there should have been a permit, or no. It's not a case where it's clear cut. And the fact of the matter, I guess, is it is done now. I think that given the way that the site currently exists, there is a fairly fortified cement block barrier at the bottom that seems to be doing a good job of holding slopes. And the slopes above that are vegetated and don't appear to be significant erosion problems. So I think that's the state in which it exists that you ought to be considering. Um, quickly scan this to see. We've got a lot of pictures, and the pictures in the staff report do a fairly decent job of illustrating the site and the questions before you here tonight. They did do the state did a LiDAR flyover in 2011. That was before the most recent excavation, so that can show you what the contours would have been prior to that. You can see from the photographs what they look like today. I believe the proposal here is for a shed with a holding tank, not to be used as a dwelling, to be used recreationally for some other purposes and things of that nature. Open up the question for suggest the applicant fill in any details that Boston.
Excuse me, Eric, can I bring this up?
Yes.
This is just a bigger plan.
Can you state your name?
Steve Bauer from Calvary Lumber.
All right, thanks.
Possible building if they get this through. This is to the scale of what I went down and measured and lasered out in the driveway and so forth and so on.
You have that as the last page.
It's the same thing on the last page.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It looks familiar, huh?
Oh, I've seen something like
So I guess I would welcome any questions you have in the staff report or generally for me.
What does recreational mean?
What's that a term that's defined in the ordinance? I guess I use that term for folks who are primarily looking to hunt or, I guess, hike, fish, things of that nature. In this case, it means not agricultural, not residential. So any other, the ordinance requires a primary structure to occupy a parcel before an accessory structure. So typically a shed is an accessory structure. In this case, there would be nothing for the shed to be accessory to. We do allow agricultural buildings to serve as primary buildings. The primary use of that land is agriculture.
But this appears to be that the intent is to occupy with a septic, with a holding.
Right, I believe it's to occupy, but not as a permanent residence. It would be.
But there's no restrictions as to numbers or length of time or anything like that?
When we've been pressed
Or
to come up
size.
with that, we've pointed to 12 consecutive months. That might be a good question for their intent here tonight to them.
Okay. I'm just wondering whether there's anything written. We're on our own.
Well, so we-
Permanent residence.
Okay.
There's a phrase similar to that in the ordinance, but they don't lay the parameters that would constitute that out.
Okay.
Anybody else having questions for Aaron? We can open it to have the applicants explain what they're doing. Why don't we go ahead and, you want to talk, you want to give us some information or what you're proposing here and
Do we
what
want to
you're going
close
to do with
this?
this?
Okay.
Well, when we,
What's your name?
I'm Dave Giles. When we approached Township back, when we bought the property, my understanding that quite a few years ago, somebody did live there, but it was handed down, as you said, or sold, I shouldn't say handed down, but, so we talked to the township about, down the road that we'd like to put up like a shed or type of building, and they said, no problem whatsoever, so we went and proceeded and bought the land. So now, the last building was there, the garage type cabin, was basically full of mold, and it wasn't good even being there if you're working on something, the garage part of it, so we decided, and I talked to the township about that as far as tearing down permits or anything like that, and they said, no, if it's full of mold, better off to get rid of it, so at that time, we got a burning permit, I believe, we burnt it, cleaned it all up, and then shored up that wall. The wall's been in there for 6, 8 years probably, and it's couple block high, probably about 4,000 pounds each for the block. Double layer of drain tile with rock. Had many torrential rains down here. We haven't had any washing whatsoever. Vegetation's good and strong. So we approached Steve about helping us out building a building, and basically we like to keep like our four-wheelers in there. We have a tractor and disc, things like that down here, because we have some property up above that we try to maintain or plant, etc., farm. But we have kind of equipment all over the place, and rather than pay rent on it, doesn't make sense. We got this property. That would be the best situation to build something like that, and put it in there. And then if we want to wash stuff, we can wash stuff, and that's why we want to have the holding tank rather than having water running all over. And not trying to be good stewards and do the right thing. So that's why we approach township number one, and then Steve's, that we can get a good building, good solid building, and one that we can take care of our equipment. And yeah, we come down deer hunting and maybe a couple times in the summer possibly. So if we currently have a camper fish, I guess it's like a fish house, Boys' Fish House that you've seen on picture, we park in there. We could put that inside, or if we want to stay in it, then pull it outside or whatever. But that's kind of the intent of doing that. We want to make sure that we're doing everything the way it should be done and what you're requiring, make sure it's done right. And that's kind of why we're here, and that's why we're working with Steve too. So.
What would you be, excuse me, what would you use for a source for the water? If you have a holding tank, you must have some.
Well, I think we would like to put in a well if that's possible. That way we can wash, have a drain in there. That way we can wash any of our equipment, four-wheelers, etc. If we shoot deer, we can wash them and clean them up. That's what we've always done since I was a kid, is clean them up good, wash them out, and try to clean them out so there's no bacteria or anything else like that. So.
Would it be heated then in the winter, or you have to drain the water?
I don't think, we don't really have any plans for that.
I was just thinking, you've either got to drain
Right.
or
Absolutely.
heat it.
Yeah, we would try to set that up so it's drained back or blow them out or whatever. That's not a problem. We have a place up in northern Wisconsin in a resort camp or whatever type, and we blow that thing out a couple, 3 weeks ago already, blow it out with antifreeze. So we can adapt to whatever we need to do, so that, we don't want to freeze everything else, that's for sure. Just put a hydrant in. Or like you said, you could put a hydrant in too, because then it's below and you don't have to worry, that would be a good option, might be the best option.
Yeah, just be storage, kind of pump it over.
Yeah, and Storley's from over by Oak, I think. They pump a lot of, like we have an outhouse or satellite there now, and then he comes and pumps it out for us if we need to use it, whatever. So.
There would be no drain field per se?
No. That's why we figured the holding tank was the best. It's the safest, and it's better as far as requirements. And if we need to pump it out, we'll just have him come and pump that all out, clean that. And we're not dealing with any kind of drain field or any kind of runoff or anything that's detrimental to the.
Would you have some kind of toilet facilities?
I guess we would probably possibly plumb something in, but I don't think we would use it. I mean, it would be
We'll just
nice.
move on.
It'd be nice to, in case you want to, stub it in. In case you decide that, okay, you want to put a toilet in there. But the guys don't really have issues with the outhouse or stuff like that now.
Yeah.
The wives would be a little different story. I guess I don't blame them, but, no, there's no plans for that. The water for sure would be nice, and like I said, the drain, and then have our holding tank.
This sounds like a house.
Well, I would love to move down here. I've been coming down here for 40-some years with my uncles, but I would have moved a long time ago when these guys were little. He's the youngest at 25, so I think we missed our window. Love to be part of this community, but no plans to move down here.
Where do you live now?
South of the cities. So, north of Cannon Falls, wherever south of the city's up there, so, but, yeah, I hate to say it's been 40-some years, but it has been. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yep.
I'm looking for some clarity, I guess, on a toilet or a shower. Are those snubbed in, or I guess once
No, I
there's-
mean, okay, then we're not going to, but no, I mean, our plan is not to have that. You know, our plan is to run water in, if we're gonna use the
Just gonna
hydrant
be a
on it.
hydrant with a septic, or a holding tank.
Holding
No
tank, yeah.
toilet, no shower, it's gonna be cold storage,
Where is your holding tank gonna be?
Wherever,
wherever you want us to put it.
yeah, wherever it fits, I think it's 50 foot between the well and the septic tank. So probably be off to the side, wherever works, whatever makes
Wherever you
sense,
guys
whatever
want.
you guys want it. I mean, we're here to make sure that we're trying to follow the rules and you know, probably wouldn't be sitting here discussing if we knew that. We couldn't do that back when we talked to the township, tried to follow the rules at the time, but, you know, but I understand it, and, you know, like I said, we're here, we wanna make things, follow the rules, what you got, you know. I worked for a county up there, so I know what it's like.
What is this, the red square and the big square?
I think that's proposed,
That's, I
that
think
that
that's where
cement
the,
there is an actual cement that was,
There was an old cement
right,
slab
that was
sitting
part of
there.
the slab,
that's
so.
where the campers is.
That's where the inside camp, that inside little square on the right top, this is how they would like the building to sit where the red is. That little square is where, so it's my denotion for these guys, that's where their fish house is sitting right now.
Oh,
That red
Oh,
square
okay.
doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, the fish also will be coming back anyway, because hopefully I'll have time to fish when it gets nice, but they just bring it down usually during the bowl season, and they got a place to stay.
That other slab, I assume that's where the older
Right.
home/garage was.
Right.
Right,
Yeah, it
that's
lines up.
what, yep.
Pretty much right.
see, what other property do you own around this now?
We have.
Or you or your associates?
We have 225 acres, that is just north of that.
We had 550 with my uncle and my 3 brothers. My uncle passed away a couple years ago. My aunt wanted to move on. Other brother wanted to get out. So it ended up kind of getting somewhat split up.
Mhm.
Steve Frippy bought the open land that butts against his, and we retained 220, 240, and one brother has some across the creek.
See, why are you not building on that?
Because we don't have, it's all wooded. and we
Oh,
can't-
I mean, there's a reasonable spot.
If you look at page 4 in your staff report, figure 3 shows both properties there. And it shows the topo lines on there. It's a lot
Yeah,
of spots.
All the good spots that ended up getting split and sold, which. all of our control with
pretty
everything.
steep.
Yeah, really steep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron, I have a question here that maybe you can answer. Looking at these pictures down at the bottom of page 4, in 2014, it shows no retaining wall there. In 2017, it shows the retaining wall. But over here, on page 5, this picture was supposedly taken in 2011, and there's a retaining wall.
No, the picture's taken in 2017, but the contour lines you're seeing, the yellow lines on there, you see that whole, from south of the Britannica, that's flat, but if you look at the contour lines, they're showing that there's slope there. So what happens, the LiDAR flights, they got the 2-foot contours, those happened in 2011, and those 2-foot contour lines are reflecting the way the ground lay in 2011, but the imagery is the 2017 flyover.
So there was still at that time some contours there.
Yeah, if you look at the bottom of page 5 there, you see the old
Okay,
garage,
yep,
you can
yep.
see that there's soil kind of
Yeah.
on either side of it. You can actually see kind of a little peak in the middle of the red square, presumably that's the roof of the garage peeking up just a little bit.
And which one?
Figure 5 has the LiDAR lines.
Mm-hmm, okay, yep.
You would see, you know, if you took those a new flight right now and shot LiDAR, there wouldn't be any lines on that flight area. It would be flat.
What type of roof are you proposing? Is a monoslope or a pitch roof?
Just a pitch roof.
Pitch
Just a
roof.
ranch, pitch roof,
Okay.
bullshit.
Run up from the back side toward that
So
retaining
half
wall.
would run off the back, half would run off the front.
Okay, will that, how do you get that around? Because that's going up against the retaining wall. It's gonna have to
Well,
eventually.
Aaron asked us to, move it away, so we're proposing, what is it, 17 feet off the back?
Yeah, I
12
saw
feet
that.
off the back. We'd have to put eave troughs on, off
Okay.
the backside.
The
front will come-
backside to get
The
that,
front will come around,
yeah,
front will
okay.
dump off. And the reason originally I wanted to tuck it as close as you guys would allow it to the stone wall is to keep away from the front of the road ditch. Because that's
Okay.
pretty steep coming off the road. Push it back.
We could do gutters and drain.
Yes. Oh, yeah. In my opinion, it's got good drainage right now. It drains pretty much to the, I would call that direction, south-southwest, most of it.
I guess one thing that's bothering me about this is it appears to me that you took ownership of this property in 2011, and then sometime after 2014, this retaining wall was built, and so there apparently was an intent to do something with this property at that time without any permit or anything obtained. And I think sometimes people try to create a circumstance that favors being permitted by doing things that aren't yet permitted. And I guess I'm just going to be blunt here. That little square in the big square isn't where the fish house is. I was out there today, and the fish house is back almost against the wall, and it fits parallel with the wall.
I just brought the fish house back down. He drew this a while ago. I just brought the fish house back down maybe 2 weeks ago.
Okay?
We had it on ourselves before.
When I drew that in there, I drew this up to ship up to these guys and just maintained to tell them, this is where I think you should put the shed. And this is where it is according to your fish house. So that little red square is definitely not anything to scale.
No, what I was wondering is if it is like a utility room or something like that.
Oh, on the new building?
Yes.
No, I didn't plan it that way. Because now as the big plan shows, that building, if they can build it, is gonna be shoved way more to the left as you're looking at the picture. 'Cause it's too close to the driveway coming up.
Yep.
The big plan I show is actually more to scale than this little one, with my red coloring in it.
Can I ask a question, Paul? I'm sorry, I'll let
I
you
was just gonna
respond to
say,
that.
responding to his,
Yeah, I think
after
this
we
is what
bought
we
it,
have.
before we
Yeah,
bought
it
it,
is. It's
we talked
exactly
to
what we
him,
have.
after we bought it, we talked to him again,
Just wanted-
and that's when we put that wall
No,
in.
it isn't.
No intention of,
He had 12 feet here on
I've worked for
ours.
public service a long time, so
okay.
no intention of trying to skip out of a permit.
You were just talking
We already
about
talked to them, like I said, we ran in that mold, so talked to them about cleaning that up, that's what we did, clean that site up and everything, so. And in fact, we talked to him and he said, it's all systems go as far as building, to go ahead and get a permit, but now we have to go through the next step, so we're not trying to jump through or pass any steps at all whatsoever, so.
Is the township should not have been involved in this, should they?
I mean, the township is notified of permit applications, but the township doesn't have a zoning ordinance or.
No, I understand that. They just told us that we had their blessing, but yeah, I understand that, we have to go through the county, that's not, so, just wanted to clarify that, but go ahead with your question.
I'm looking at the old building, and it was dug in to an extent.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna remove that, can you remove that without doing some excavation, or was the excavation?
I thought that's gone already, isn't it?
That's already
necessary?
done, but
Right, but I guess I'm trying to get at the putting in of the wall.
Because that hole was there basically, so we went to just shore that up rather than just leave it raw, and then just went.
They had old timber walls in there.
Yeah, there's old timber walls and things like that
rattlesnakes
in there, so rather than just take them all out and just like I said, leave it raw and then let it wash out, we shored it up and did what we thought was the right thing to do as far as, keeping it from any kind of soil erosion.
So my thought there, I guess, is if I'm looking on page 5, you see the building that's in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how, and I'm looking for more, if you have more comments on that, but I don't know how, perhaps it's not practical to remove a building that's dug into the foot of a hill without having some degree of disturbance to the foot of the hill. You certainly don't want to leave it without anything to hold it. Like, I guess let me read.
See, I'm
no,
not,
I know, yeah.
I'm not sure where the wall is in respect to that house that's been removed.
There's the
It's
back.
behind it. See, the house used to be on this slab of cement here.
Okay, yep.
And then, this is the wall now. So,
I see, okay.
Yeah, that wall is approximately, I believe, I think it's 5 foot tall, either 4 or 5.
Is that made
Four.
with those
Okay, it's
big,
2 blocks
bigger,
high.
those big blocks of ready mix put together?
2 blocks high, and it's
Okay.
110 to 130 feet long, give or take.
And you want to build in the protection of that wall.
Right. Yeah, we were just talking too, if we needed to, if we put the gutters on there, if we need to, and we probably would anyways, if we need to put like a drain tile or something to pick up both those downspouts and drain that water down towards that kind of dry creek bed in the back, we certainly probably would do that, just keep as much water from running anywhere, really. Makes more sense.
Can you talk about the size of the building you're proposing?
Well, it's a 36 by 3668. That's the size they thought they wanted, so it's a place.
Okay, so I mean, maybe you folks then, one of the variances you're asking for, the setback from the bluff, is somewhat proportional to the size of the bigger the building you build, the larger your
Right.
variance
More
request
room
has
we
to be
need.
here. I guess why wouldn't a smaller building suffice for?
We have, like 2 Polaris Rangers down here, and then we have the fish house, if we park that inside, and then we have the tractor and the disc, and we keep all that at the neighboring property. He allows us, but,
Snowmobile.
he told us that, probably start looking for something different, cause it's pretty full. And it takes a long time to drive the tractor back and forth, that's why we wanna build something.
Fair amount of equipment, so,
Yep, I
There's
just
a,
wanna,
there's a Bobcat down there, the tractor,
splitter.
a log splitter, a planter, corn planter. Mowers. I'm sure we can fill it.
well, I guess what I'm getting at is, does it have to be that big? When we get to the findings, one of the findings is, it's the absolute minimum that you're asking for that would facilitate the request. It's always tricky when you're talking about the size of buildings, because it's hard to demonstrate a need you can point to, that it has to be this dimension by this dimension. But I think your response is reasonable.
Yeah, in order to get everything in there, that would be, obviously, you'd always like to go bigger than what we have, but that's not probably gonna work out with what we have for site, so. But that size would accommodate, I think, pretty much most, if not all, our equipment.
And that's gonna be pole construction?
You know, it's built on grade slab, concrete, studded up.
Okay.
It's less expensive if you do it that way, if they're gonna put concrete in it, less expensive to stud it than it is to put poles in the ground.
With concrete will float.
Yep. You know, and I'm not sure if the Giles would be happy with this, I'm not sure if the council would either, but I'm looking at that and thinking, a square building is always less money than a rectangle building, but if there wasn't enough room front to back, you know, if that would help, possibly you could cut it down to 30 foot wide and go longer and get the same square footage. Because as I stated, a rectangle building is more money than square. But at
Cost
that
per-
36 foot, you're just getting two, you know, we're squeezed to 12 foot to the stone wall, with a 36 foot wide, and then 17 to the toe of the hill in the front, or to the top of the hill, I should say. It's actually about 20 feet, but I don't know if that's an option or what. Yeah, it's a zoning ordinance, it's supposed to be 20. So it'd be great.
I guess 15, 215s, I mean, most equipment will fit in there, won't it? I'm thinking if you had a 30 instead of 36, you'd have 215s.
But overheads, yeah, I see what you mean. Like I said, I just priced it this building because this
Yeah.
is what they thought they wanted.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it should be, I mean,
Yeah.
well, do we have any more questions?
So which side of it is on the variance from the toe of the bluff? I guess maybe I don't understand the toe of the bluff terminology. I just,
So if we look at,
Toes the bottom.
page 5, is probably a good one to look at.
okay,
The new photo with the fish house at the bottom. We're calling the toe the point at which the blocks sit.
okay,
So the ordinance would say they need to be 25 feet from
from,
that,
from that block.
from the toe, yeah.
The toe, not the other end where it starts sloping away.
Well, that's not enough of a slope to constitute another bluff over there. You know,
Okay.
Before this was developed, the toe probably was the road.
Okay.
We just got a chunk out here, but for all practical purposes, the toe is now where the bluffs were, is that initial development was done.
Okay,
Valid
okay.
permit. We drop another, it's a steep drop to the road, and that's why I think Tony's hesitant to get too close to it. You know,
Well, that's what I guess, you know, I still keep going back to, you know, remembering those houses that slid down the hill at Brownsville. And that's the concern I have. When you're building on a bluff. And we got a torrential rain. I mean, we're talking a lot of rain that night. They were talking 18 inches of rain, I believe, down Brownsville, Oak area. And there were multiple houses that just slid down the hill.
So if you look at his map, the smaller, the large
Yep.
map or your
Yep.
last page, you're saying 12 feet, 4 inches of rise off the road to the top of the driveway, am I reading that correctly?
You know, I
Yes.
just counted these, yeah, that's from the road
It's
to up there.
124 inches of rise on 106 feet, so we easily make that,
Okay.
is it 13%, Aaron? Or what is it? The road, 12%?
It's 12%.
So we easily make that.
Right, and that 124 inches is not enough change in elevation to be a bluff.
Okay,
It's a
okay.
steep slope.
It's a steep slope, but not where you have the
That's their
problem.
existing driveway that's been there for, I don't know how long, but that's what it measures now.
But you have a similar elevation change from the bank going down to the road throughout that whole leveled area. It's about 124 inches
Yeah,
lower
that's-
down to the road.
That's correct, to the
Yeah.
center of the road.
Yeah, so we don't, you know, an elevation change of that small amount, we don't regulate that, but I think that, you know, common sense would tell the builder that he doesn't want to put a building, you know, right on the
Oh,
edge.
no, on that
So,
slope, no,
so
definitely.
realistically, if you're talking to major soil erosion, this problem is from uphill rather than the building itself washing down.
The building site itself right now is relatively flat. The
Yeah,
site
no, I
itself,
understand that, but that's,
it's the slope behind the wall.
Behind the wall
that
is
goes
where-
up.
and if
That's
you
all
have-
vegetated and trees and,
That all goes to the ravine side.
right, that all flows, I'm gonna call it again, southeast, southwest,
Southwest,
excuse me,
yeah.
yes.
There's a big ravine that it runs to.
Off the left side of that last page on your pamphlet that's their main drainage.
Now, if you look on this page, on page 4, with the contour lines, you can see that line going kind of up, starting about in the middle and then heading to the right. That's the ditch is going.
Yep.
Right up.
Oh, yeah.
Really pronounced. It's a major driveway.
and where's the, oh, where's the proposed site then?
Yep, you've got the proposed site of that image there is in the bottom right corner.
Okay,
So they're draining there to the,
and
To the
relative to that
southwest.
is, the road is down further, okay, now I follow.
yeah, they're at the bottom of a hill.
So they're at the bottom of that gully too, right?
Yeah, well, near the gully.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
higher
okay.
than the gully. The
Quite a
gully's
bit
not
higher.
through
Yep.
the site.
okay. Yep,
30 feet.
So the peak
That's
of the
got a
hill
big
would
box
be this
culvert
point
there.
right here then,
There is, there's box culvert
the
under.
peak
Big
of the
box
bluff.
culvert.
Yep, that's the top right there, yes.
And then that extends out this way in the road probably, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that proposed level site where they would like to build is a minimum of, where I have that line 65 feet to the center of the gravel road,
yep,
it's a good 13, 14 feet elevation higher.
Yep,
They're
okay,
not
yep,
building on that slope, it's just higher.
yeah, yeah.
I guess I'm looking for a little more, another round of statements from you all about the future intent of the site review. No intent for future
Living
development.
there,
Well, my plan, it's me and my brother, we're gonna try to buy it from them. And it's just a spot, we're always gonna stay in the fish house, and we actually have another spot we can stay. So it's a spot to keep our toys, keep the farm equipment, keep it nice, wash it when it gets done, so it's not all muddy, and then keep it somewhere secure. Cause right now it just stays in a pole barn, and there's no lock on it, there's no nothing. So we just want a spot that is ours, that we can, you know, keep things nice, and if we need to, we can, you know, hang deer in there if we want to. That's why we wanna have water there, to have a pressure washer there to wash off equipment, wash off the Bobcat, the wheeler, the tractor, and then it's gonna go in a holding tank, so then it's not just daylighted out into your guys' ditch, and then we can have it, pumped out. The holding tank pumped when needed.
So the farm equipment you're talking about, when I look at the two parcels here, I guess I don't see anything that you could plow or plant. It seems like it's, the only flat spot is the spot you're looking to build this
There's a
shed.
spot on the very top that we have probably, I don't know, a couple acres that we plant. It's in the middle of the woods. You won't even see it on there. And then we have, on that other, on my uncle's land, we have like a 20-acre chunk that's a valley that we plant.
Okay.
You know, I don't know, we probably have 30 acres worth of tillable that we actually plant.
But not on these, but on other
No, you're correct.
family parcels.
Yeah, family parcel, yep.
Do you have any sort of objection if we had a condition that would, you know, limit any development on this parcel to the footprint of the building you're requesting now? I mean, that you couldn't come back in 5 years and propose to build a house or something else.
No.
You would be able to replace this building in place at some point in the future, but the footprint of what would be approved at this point would be the maximum extent of development on that parcel.
I'll never build a house there. if that's what you're getting at. But if something happens that in 40 years from now is rotten out, I want to be able to build a new one.
Right, and I guess I'm not thinking of you necessarily either. You might,
Maybe
somebody
my
else might
kids.
own that in 10 years, and you
No,
might
it's
say,
not.
there's already a shed here, I need to build a house.
It's not going to get sold.
It's not gonna accommodate it anyway. I mean, without
No,
a
I think
lot
it's a pretty minimal size.
Right.
It's, you know,
Oh, that's not.
Now, like the wall, the concrete wall is solid. I do retaining walls. That's what we specialize in, and it's not going anywhere. There's crushed rock behind it. Like when Steve said that you guys want 25 feet away from that, it's like there's nowhere. I mean, even if it did fall, it's 4 feet. So. And at the end of the day, if it did fall, just say worst case scenario, we're not gonna come to you guys and say, hey, can you rebuild our building? Like that's our deal. So that's what I guess I didn't understand.
Well, you're trying to look out for us, the general public, that's your responsibility, we get that, but.
You know, I think some of that goes to anytime you're disturbing the bottom of the slope, it may undermine it, who knows, it sounds like you know what you're doing.
We do a lot of stuff on lakes, and I mean, we just did a big retaining wall, like you were saying, to support a house. I mean, it was a 100-foot drop, and I can show you pictures of that. We did something 10 times the size
We
of it.
erosion control too, it's a hydro seeder.
Yeah, we straw blanketed all this, and we own a hydro seeder. We hydro seeded it all with a ditch mix. I mean, there's plenty of grass growing.
I guess my only concern is that if, right now, if there never would have been a structure permitted on that, we probably wouldn't be here talking about building another structure on that. So what I don't want to happen is, if this structure is allowed, and it's then used to, somebody else sitting in the seat you're in the future saying, well, now, the well's there, the holding tank's there, we
I
can
guess
build a house.
things can change, but I don't ever see us selling that piece. I mean, hopefully we'll
Well,
have
if
it.
you do, if the stipulation is that nothing like house or any kind of, can be built there, that's a done deal. I mean, whoever buys it, if they did decide to sell it.
Yeah, we're open to hear whatever you guys got to
Yeah.
say.
well, and I would think it would make sense to put some verbiage in there like that, and then depend on the future people in this seat.
Or they could always change that, but they would know that that was the intent
Yes.
that allowed the initial building.
Yeah.
That's
I
more-
I have a question for you, Aaron. On this drawing, from behind, this is the back wall of the shed here, and here's the retaining wall, and there's 12 feet there. Now,
The new
He's
one
got
has
17
17.
on this new one. He revised it and flipped the numbers.
oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, that's not an 8-foot setback, and it's,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I guess one thing I would say, like with Steve saying, like with me going to school for building these walls, like it's stronger back by the wall than out in front. So, I don't know where you guys want it, but it just makes more sense to me to shove it tighter to the wall than push it closer to for say bluff or steeper grade there. If it's the closer you keep it to the wall, the better off you are, because otherwise, if you keep it closer to the roadside, like you said, if you did get a bunch of rain, that's where it's going to go. Well, if you keep it tighter to the wall, it's not going to go anywhere.
is there a setback from the road that's required, Aaron? Distance from the road to the front of the building?
Yep, so he's showing that on here, the 65-foot
What kind of road is that?
township.
Township Road.
So that is the setback distance?
65 feet is a setback.
Yeah, and we have plenty of room there. We have 65 plus another 17 to the proposed site of the front of the building. But the reason I did, again, shove it back is because the hillside in the front by the road is a lot steeper and definitely is gonna erode before the back of that stone wall is. Because that's part of the township road, coming up that 65 feet.
There's really nothing else you can do with that land either, is there?
No, I think it was, yeah, over the years, move stuff around to make it flat enough to build something there. I don't know what else you do with it.
Yeah.
So is the proposal 17 feet from the wall or the 12 feet? Which is it now? From the, this one shows 12 or 17 and the other one has 12. I mean, you basically flip-flop the numbers.
Because they wanted more feet away.
And I
When
don't
Aaron and I
know,
were talking a while back, he thought it would be more advisable to pull it more towards the front and give you more room in the back and not ask for so much in the back end. As you're asking for 8 feet right now.
So you could adjust that, I guess I gave him that
Right.
advice because when we get to the findings, you're going to have to find.
so
what you do for
if you went to the 17, then you're only looking at 3 feet variance. Is that right? Or it's a
25
foot?
foot.
25, so it's an 8
Yeah,
foot.
it's 8. Yeah, that's the 8.
That's the 8 with the 17.
That still allows you to move around back there with equipment too.
Yeah, but I was thinking like 12 would be nice because you still can get a Bobcat back there and everything you need to. If you ever had to rebuild that wall, I mean, we slide in like 6-foot places to rebuild walls in between garages and stuff. So 12 is more than enough. But my thought is like, and that's totally up to you guys, but I would keep it tighter the wall because it's like I said, the toe of the hill is a lot stronger there. But that's totally up to you guys. You guys can decide that.
So
When was that put in, do you think?
The wall.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of what it went, what it,
April 12th of 2014. So I have a picture when we did it in April.
trying to think of the events we've had since then.
Well, this summer we
The
had
front hill wouldn't have changed. When he's talking in 14, he's talking the back wall. I believe you're talking about the front, or we're talking.
No, I meant when the wall was put in place, how many
Oh, okay.
major events has that gone through? It didn't go through '07.
No,
but
we-
this summer has been one of the
Yeah.
bigger ones.
Yeah, yeah.
In '07, that, we didn't own it then, but we've been going by there, and none of that hillside wash
Yeah.
whatsoever. So
There's
Yeah, right.
pretty good vegetation.
yeah, it's got good vegetation with trees.
Well, it depends on how much area it's draining from above too.
It all
Right.
drains to that dry creek bed. I mean, when you go down there, like I was down there when you guys had all that rain, it's that dry creek bed. It's not a dry creek bed. It's a creek, and it follows that ravine, goes underneath that box culvert, and goes all the way down to the Beaver Creek. So that site was completely dry. I looked at all of our drain tile, and they were all clean and clear, and nothing even running out of it because that whole hill basically sheds to that dry creek bed.
Plus that short ridge, I guess you'd call it, between, was Volman's, now it's Chris, I can't remember his last name, but is not that big a bluff or ridge compared to the upper ridges and bigger ridges. So it's not as much draining off of there as some of the bluffs that you have, you know,
Yeah.
that's close.
It'd be
Are you
different
gonna-
if it rose to that peak and continued there, but it goes down, so it's not a large area that's draining.
Right.
Are you gonna have access to the shed from the ends, or are you gonna have multiple doors on the lengthwise and drive out that way?
Just the end where the driveway
Just-
is, that's all we need, I guess, is just to go up there and the
You
main
won't-
garage door there.
You won't have a drive, you won't have a door on the other ends?
No.
You can't do that when you pushed it that way.
We,
Have enough room.
No, you wouldn't.
we talked
If
about
it would've been
that,
on the
but-
original site, you might have had a drive-through door.
we talked about that, but it's pretty steep on that end, and we didn't wanna disturb that like box culvert, cause that'd be right down in there.
Okay.
And we didn't wanna disturb that, so we just left it alone, we just need one in, one out, that's all we need.
Good.
So they're gonna be clear span? At
Oh,
what,
yeah.
36?
36, that's an easy one.
Okay.
So it'd be just the doors on the driveway end.
Yeah, it'd be, was at the east end. Yeah, the driveway on the east end, yeah.
Okay.
The road.
do we think?
Public comment, you can close the public hearing and
Oh,
discuss.
are there any more public comments? Oh, well, we don't have anybody to, don't have to go back there, I guess.
Move to close the public.
I'll make a
hearing.
motion to, I'd entertain a motion to conclude the public hearing and reconvene the Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing, reconvene the Board of Adjustment meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. For the record, have any of the members visited the site?
Yes.
I
Yes.
always thought that was put in a funny place.
Yeah.
Made sense. All right.
Kenny, any comments on it? You've been there.
I've been there. My issue is not with the building and where you site it and how big it is and all that sort of thing. My issue is looking at these photos, it looks to me like there was substantial excavation done that was not permitted. And so that history bothers me. And then the other thing is that if they were applying to us to build a house, I think we would deny it.
Oh, yeah.
And yet, they're building a shed with all of the things that are necessary to live in. And I'm not comfortable with that. I mean, and we don't have anything on the books that would prevent this from being a year-round house to live in, or to live there for as long as they want. I'm not comfortable with allowing that shed to have the kinds of things in it that would allow them to occupy it. If they really want to store equipment, they could do so with a hydrant. They could install the holding tank and wash their equipment and do all they want, but they wouldn't have plumbing, they wouldn't have toilets, they wouldn't have running water, it wouldn't be plumbed. I would be okay with that. I'm not comfortable with allowing that shed to have the kinds of things that people can stay in and live in, because we wouldn't permit, I don't think, any kind of a residence there at all, given the size of the site and all the other things that are required. So that's sort of where I'm at.
Brian, you were also there, right?
I guess I have some of the same concerns that Ken just voiced. And the history of how this has been developed over time is a little concerning to me. And I think just the size of the setbacks and of the variance is requested, like this is 0.2 acres, and an acre is required. That's a 500% variance.
For a residence. The 1 acre, or the 9/10 is for a residence.
Buildable
Oh,
lot.
for anything? To build anything?
That's how we define it. A buildable lot is 1 acre, 9/10 of.
But I mean even a shed?
I guess I read buildable lot to mean anything you're gonna develop.
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
So I'm struggling with this. I guess as we maybe go through it point by point, maybe some things will become more clear, but I'm uncomfortable with it.
I understood them to sound like they're gonna put a hydrant in there. I agree. Well, if they don't put a hydrant in there, they gotta have heat. Well,
Yeah,
like
well,
you said,
unless
they
there's
blow
no
it
water.
out. Huh?
Unless there's no water at all.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, if you're concerned that they're making it buildable, then you'd have to have, I mean, I'm, in my view, it's a big empty shell with a hydrant and a drain that drains to the floor, and that goes to a holding tank.
I'm okay with that if it wasn't plumbed.
But it would just be a hydrant.
It would just be a hydrant, the building wasn't plumbed, so that you could occupy it as a residence. I'm okay with that. I would have,
In a floor drain to get rid of
yeah,
the water.
right. And I understand that the reasoning for the holding tank and that sort of thing.
Yep.
I'm just not comfortable with anything in that building that would be, allow it to be occupied.
I agree with that.
I
Yeah,
tend
yeah.
to agree with that too.
I'm a little concerned, you know, it's your issue. I'm a little concerned with that holding tank in the winter. I mean, a septic system generates heat in its process. It has warm water that's added to it. I'm not convinced that won't freeze in the winter.
I mean, if you got it 5 feet down, how will it freeze?
Well, maybe 5 feet, it'll be fine.
Or if we pump
I
it
get-
every fall, then we're
I guess I was thinking a lot of times they're much more shallow than that.
no.
You'd have to be at least 2 feet, and if they're not, they have to be insulated.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll probably get one that's insulated too, or we'll spray foam it, but yeah, I'm not worried about freezing it because we'll probably put 4 or 5 feet down.
Is that the view that you're, and we have to figure out some wording for that, that it is a floor drain somewhere, as everything flows to that, you've got a hydrant in there, when you shut it off, I mean, there's no living quarters. We've talked about having a toilet, and apparently you're not gonna do that. And I don't know, can we find some wording for that?
Well, I think we just, from my perspective, we permit the building, provided that it not be plumbed
No permanent plumbing.
for living purposes.
Yeah.
You know, that would be my criteria.
I agree.
Beyond that, the specifications of the building, we're gonna grant, you know, we're gonna end up giving them a variance on the wall and all that sort of thing anyway. We typically do. And I'm not opposed to you guys having a building. I'm opposed to having a building that can be occupied. You may not, you may think you're gonna own it forever, but you won't. And the next person that comes along, I don't want this thing to appear to be a residence. I don't want any part of that.
Well, no
That's
one's
my
gonna ever
position.
check on this, though. I mean, once it's built, it's gonna be whatever it becomes over time.
Well, I
Well, and
think,
we have
if
the-
we specify, I think we have control over that, don't we, Aaron?
I mean, somewhat. It's, my typical West Beaver Road beat is about, you know, barring an applicant once every 4 years perhaps. And I'm not door knocking, but I think we'd have, you know, we would have something that came to our attention, we would have something we could point to say, you can't be occupied, this is a residence. If we put a condition in there that, well, I guess you couldn't do that anyway, but if we propose some language, or you add as a condition some language that, you know, limits the amount of, it says that it can't be plumbed, that's all the more that we could rely upon if we found that somebody did some work on the inside, which you don't need permits for unless you're creating bedrooms. And we never got a permit for somebody creating a bedroom on the inside of a house. It never happens. We'd have some language there to, you know, push back on that if it ever became evident that it was occurring.
Well, and we have the same issue, even more so with cabins we permit. Not to say that that makes it any easier, but
I think if we go through these steps and we discuss them appropriately, things will maybe clarify themselves to a degree. Anybody else think that?
yeah, I
Let's
agree
move
with
on.
that. All right. If there's no further discussion, we'll go through the findings.
findings required, and we'll take a roll call vote on each finding. Read the staff analysis. Any of these, much of the analysis provided by staff is going to require discussion amongst the board and perhaps questions of the applicant. If you agree with the staff analysis, state as much. If you have reasons for your vote that are not included there, state those. If you agree with the reasons offered by somebody else, simply state that. Requirement number 1, the variance request is in harmony with the intent and purpose of official controls. Analysis from staff is that policies intended to achieve the general goals of the county include prohibit development in unsuitable areas. Steep bluffs and undersized lots are identified as an unsuitable area. This would support denial of both requests. However, consideration should be given to the fact that the site was previously and lawfully developed, that the result of past development may be a site that is indeed suitable for some limited uses, and that no additional alteration of bluffs is proposed. In granting any variance, the board should be confident that the applicant has satisfactorily demonstrated that the site is suitable, including consideration of intended use, future structures, slope stabilization, and wastewater treatment. If the applicant is unable to do this, the above policy could support, or if the applicant is able to do this, the above policy could support granting both requests. Ken Visker.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think the site is stable. The wall works, and I think it's not unreasonable to develop it to some degree.
Dana?
Yeah, I agree with Ken's answers, although it says if it's lawfully developed, which there's kind of a gray area there. Not by these people, but.
Well, the initial permit, I mean, there was a
There is.
conditional use permit granted in '84.
Yeah,
That's,
there's a copy of that.
that's how the initial building got there. The
And what,
copy of the-
84 you said?
84.
But then they went and built a house on it, so.
No,
No, it's my belief that that garage slash house or whatever that was the product of the '84 permit.
Was it? Okay. I agree. Staff analysis other than that.
Ryan?
I'm gonna say no. I do not think that it was lawfully developed. Some changes were made in 14 without permits or anything. And it is not suitable for development.
Larry?
I agree with it, staff analysis, and this is probably covered later, actually, but it seems to me that's pretty much all they can do with this thing.
When you say you agree with, I guess I should clarify with both Dana and Larry, when you agree with staff analysis is kind of laying out two paths there.
Yeah.
You're agreeing with the portion that says that limited uses are reasonable.
Yes.
Your vote yes?
Yes.
Dana, is that the same for you?
Yes.
Ken Anderson?
I guess I'll go yes. I think the limited uses as they have proposed is reasonable.
Okay, finding number 2, that there are practical difficulties in complying with the official controls and the proposed use of the property is reasonable. Economic considerations alone do not constitute practical difficulties. Analysis from staff is the limited buildable area on the property, coupled with the lack of alternative building sites on the contiguous properties, constitute a practical difficulty for both requests. Dana?
Yes, I agree with your staff analysis.
Ryan?
I'm gonna say no. The one variance is 30% and the other one's 500%.
And that large request is what was unreasonable. So
Yes.
Larry?
I agree, staff analysis.
Ken Anderson?
I'll say yes, there is no other alternative site.
Ken Visker?
And here's, again, the proposed use of the property is reasonable. I wouldn't agree with that. I think that, except for those words, I would agree with the staff analysis. But what they're proposing, I don't agree with. So I don't know how you want me to answer that, but
Well, the finding is there are practical difficulties in complying with the official controls, and the proposed use of the property is reasonable.
and I'm struggling with proposed use. So if that's in there, I have to say no.
And why don't you think it's reasonable?
Because again, we wouldn't approve of a residence on this site, and the proposed use includes things that would make it available for a residence.
I think we should stop and clarify it so that everybody's evaluating the same thing. Are you evaluating the findings based on a shed stubbed out with plumbing for sinks, toilets, or are we evaluating for something with a spigot and I guess, I thought maybe we want to clarify with the applicants what it is precisely we're looking at here.
A hydrant, well,
I'm assuming.
you can tell me.
Yeah, like you're talking about before, a hydrant and the drain with the holding tank.
And no plumbing.
No, just, you gotta bring the hydrant in.
Right, but no plumbing.
Yeah,
I mean, nothing
Does it have a-
stubbed in for toilets and things like that.
right, hydrant, drain, holding tank.
You got that? You're
You
okay
want
with
it,
that?
you want it anywhere else?
In
you
that
better
case,
have-
I would say yes.
Want it anywhere else, you better have a water hose.
Pardon me?
If you want it anyplace
Well,
else.
yeah, just run a hose, yeah. Everybody needs a big one.
Number 3, the variance request is due to special conditions or circumstances unique to the property and not created by the property owner. This property is unique in that it was lawfully developed under prior rules. The land was altered as a result, but that the alteration resulted in a condition that does not satisfy current requirements. The board should consider the post-2014 alterations as the request is based on the post-2014 dimensions and determine if it is appropriate for the finished work to be the basis for the current request. Brian?
I have to say no again, because of the post-2014 alterations and the lawfully developed statement.
Larry?
Yes, staff analysis. There is an issue that we haven't discussed. I don't know where. Somewhere's in here, I saw that was a lot of record.
No, it would not be a lot of that. It's been split 72.
Oh, is that right
It's
there?
been split and joined, I think, 3 or 4 times. I talked about how far I went back.
Oh, okay. On page 3.
Just the parcel ID number ending with 1 would indicate that that's the first split.
Okay.
Parcel history, this parcel is one of 3 splits from a parent parcel. And then since that point in time has been split and joined several times, beginning in 1978.
Okay, all right. Then I just go with the, yes, in the staff analysis.
So I am not, staff analysis again in this instance is not giving a clear, going through. So,
I think they are doing the best they can with the property. One of the conditions, special, unique, and not created by the property owner. They didn't create these circumstances. You could build a case to say they shouldn't have bought it, but that.
so if I say that they bought the property, so it was buildable because it had a building on it, that's essentially what you're.
And from there, they indicated that they did some checking and had the understanding that it was buildable. I mean, it may not have been good advice, but they did check that.
Ken Anderson.
I guess I'll go yes on it. And I think any alterations post-forward to stabilize an existing building site, that is a retaining wall and whatever, removing of the building,
Good point.
was to stabilize what was already done.
Ken Visker.
Yeah, I would agree with this, well, the staff analysis in the sense that I think you're right. It did stabilize the site by removing that building and putting that wall in, so. The answer is yes, I guess.
Dana.
Yes, for the fact that, you talked somewhere in here about that the 2017 is when they did the toll requirements on their ordinances. And that was, I can see them putting that block wall in there to make it a level spot, so they weren't violating anything when they did it, were they? According, because 2017 we rewritten the ordinances on
Right, we clarified that the bluffs exist outside of shoreline. We did have bluff land protection language in there before,
Yeah.
section 29, so somewhat buried. They talked about what constitutes substantial land alteration. Substantial land alteration.
I guess if I had a piece of land like that with a slope, I'd probably try and level it out too. Probably couldn't do it now, huh?
You can move up to 9 cubic yards.
That's 3 bobcats. 4.
Number 4, the variance not be alleviated by a reasonable method other than a variance, and a minimum variance which would alleviate the practical difficulties sought. Larry.
You gonna go through the staff analysis?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Regarding the buildable area, the existing area is a fixed quantity and cannot be increased. In this sense, it is the minimum variance that would alleviate the difficulty. Regarding the setback, with every variance request involving a building, the building's dimensions are positively correlated to the variance request. The larger the building, the larger the requested reduction. In this case, the building width dictates the amount of variance requested. The board must be satisfied the proposed building size is reasonable for the location. If the board determines this to be the case, the limited area and slope to the south of the building prevent any significant alteration of the structure's orientation.
I agree with it, and I think that it's, as I've said before, the best use of that property. I mean, you can always say we could make it smaller and have less variance, but I don't think that additional variance is gonna impact anybody. If we have a 8-foot or a 6-foot, it's not gonna impact anybody in any way.
Ken Anderson.
Yes, and I agree with Larry.
Ken Visker.
Yes. I think it'd be smarter to put it closer to the wall too, so I'm certainly, would agree with the 12 feet, and I would move it closer if it was, or I'd ask to move it closer if it were mine. So.
I'll say, yes, I agree with what how Larry explained it.
Brian?
Yes.
Number 5, the variance will not alter the essential character of the locality nor substantially impair property values or the public health, safety, or welfare in the vicinity. Analysis from staff is a structure previously existed on the property near the proposed location. Erosion from the alteration of the bluff toe is a potential concern. However, the rock wall appears to be effective and the slope above is vegetated. Ken Anderson, on that.
Yes, I'll agree with the staff analysis.
Ken Bisker,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes, staff analysis also.
Brian,
Yes.
and Larry.
Yes, staff analysis.
Lastly, number 6, a variance is not a use variance and shall not have the effect of allowing any use that is not allowed in the zoning district. Permit a lower degree of flood protection than the regulatory flood protection elevation, or permit standards lower than those required by state law. Analysis in this case is, the request is an area variance, not a use variance. The proposed shed will require a CUP in addition to a variance, but is not prohibited in the district, and the site is not located in the floodplain. Ken Bisker.
Yes.
Dana,
Yes, staff analysis.
Brian,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes, staff analysis.
Ken Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, looks like all the required findings have reached an affirmative outcome. Do we want to address the findings first, and then maybe we could propose some, I have 2 conditions that I drafted during the meeting that I would propose. Larry, do you want to seek a motion on the
Yes,
findings?
let's see. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the findings as earlier stated.
I'll make a motion to adopt the findings.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the findings as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We want to,
Okay, so I have two conditions for you to consider here. Again, I'm open to suggestions that were drafted during the meeting tonight. The first be, no future development shall be permitted beyond the footprint of the 36-foot by 60-foot building proposed. So that would allow the building to be replaced at some point in the future, but it wouldn't allow an additional building to be built on this site.
68-foot building.
Is it 68? Okay. Any thoughts on that condition, or not if suggested language changes?
Read it.
No future development shall be permitted beyond the footprint of the 36-foot by 68-foot building proposed.
I would be interested in something in there that says they can't partition it off.
What do you mean by that, Larry?
Well, they can't make a room.
Oh,
On the inside.
I don't know if that's reasonable or
I
not.
think this is a good, at least one. We may have other restrictions.
Yeah, but if we
That's
did
what
that,
I look at.
You might have
Just
another-
start
Oh,
this-
sure.
Start with this, and then if there are any others, we can add them
Sure.
additional.
Okay, any thoughts on what was proposed?
I'm good with it.
That's good.
I'm good, I'm
Something
real
that you
good
all
with
are
that.
comfortable with?
36 by 68, right?
That's
Yeah.
what
No,
it-
but you can't-
Whatever you proposed right now.
Can't go past that.
That's the
Future-
footprint.
Yeah.
No,
Or any other buildings,
pardon?
or any other structures,
Right,
right?
This would mean that anything new there would go on the footprint of this building.
no, I'll catch you.
And then we were discussing you can't partition it off, you can't make a room. I mean, this is just a big open storage area. Can't make an office in one corner,
Right.
or,
I just don't know.
I guess I have a problem with that if you wanted a tool shed, tool room. I mean, that's the only one I see, where you might have a room that you could close up and have your tools, smaller tools and stuff like that.
Right.
Let's have Aaron read the other condition
What was
he's
your other one?
proposing there and see if that
Second
takes care of
condition
it.
is that the proposed shed shall not be plumbed to receive toilet, sink, showers, or other features typically found in living quarters.
I agree with that.
I agree with
Them
that.
to take care of partition.
So that, I guess if the partitioning is trying to prevent creating conditions where it could be a residence, I think this might do that as well.
Yeah.
And they might, I'm a little worried about the nexus on the partitioning it because
Yeah, and like you said, I think you make a good point. You may want a secure area where you can keep fuel or tools or,
Yep.
you know. So we'll just bypass that.
we need proposed changes to this second condition.
Read this one more time.
The proposed shed shall not be plumbed to receive toilets, sinks, showers, or other features typically found in living quarters. And I guess features here would be limited to plumbed features. Right, that's pretty much means no water.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Now, might we wanna, I guess, I'm just thinking out loud here, we probably wanna specify that they are putting in a one water feature that they presented here tonight in this condition.
I think we all know what a hydrant is. Is that a technical term?
Yeah, what if we wanna put like a sink in there to wash?
Well,
it?
that's what I thought of too, just for hand washing, sink. You've been cleaning up some equipment in your hands, you know,
Yeah?
I mean,
I've got a shop with a hydrant, I clean my hands in a bucket. You know, I mean, it doesn't require a sink.
I've had a shop for 20, 30 years and I've never had a sink, but.
I've got one in my shop.
It's a
but-
nice feature.
It's
but it
nice to
may,
have.
You know, it may open the door to, where do we go from here?
But that's the problem, you know, I just, for hand washing, it's nice to have,
Nice to have a tub or shower.
Yeah, that's right.
but I just, that's the only one I would be questioning it,
All right, I guess
you know, and I don't know.
I can try to reword you. I've looked for more discussion here from the board so I get some direction on which way I'm.
Well, to a certain extent, we have to trust them to do what, you know, to, you know, do what they say they're gonna do. You know, we can put all kinds of restrictions in there, and a year from now, they'll go in there and be, but then, like you say, if we put something in there, we can enforce it. So I mean, I don't, I'm not gonna say that you gotta, but I think a sink makes a lot of sense.
I think the way Aaron worded it though is features typical of a living space or something
Yeah.
like that.
Right.
I can't
I mean,
remember
we're trying
exactly
to-
what he worded it, but I think that makes it clear enough, doesn't it?
Just leave the sink part out of there.
Well, you know, I'm adding a second sentence here to clarify, because what I'm thinking of, if this ever becomes a problem, it would be somebody trying to occupy it as a house, and it would be many years from now when they pull the conditions up and they'd read it, and
So, yep,
they'd say, what are the rules? And it would say, the proposed shed shall not be plumbed to receive toilets, sinks, showers, etc., or showers or other features typically found in living quarters, and they would think from that, there's no water. Now we need a sentence to clarify they will be putting a hydrant, and we could mention, you know, a sink typically found in shop environments. And that's
well, I
it.
was thinking of a slop sink. What's that?
A laundry tub, something like that, or whatever.
I don't think we might have used the word laundry.
Well, yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. Utility sink.
Or a hose.
Utilities. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so the condition will read, the proposed shed shall not be plumbed to receive toilets, sinks, showers, or other features typically found in living quarters. The applicants recommend a hydrant and a hydrant and a utility sink shall be allowed. Is that,
That sounds good to me.
Yep.
all right, anything else?
I'm good.
Go for the motion?
Referencing the conditions we just covered.
I'll entertain it, excuse me, I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny the request with this, with the, what do I want to say?
Conditions that Aaron just read or whatever. The two
As,
conditions as
I'm
stated.
trying to, don't you need to put in there the, having gone through the approve the findings and the conditions as stated in,
I would just say as discussed.
as discussed.
I move we grant the variances stated with the conditions as discussed and proposed by discussion.
Did you second it?
I will. I'll
Oh.
second it.
You did, okay.
We're gonna discuss them.
Pardon me?
I have some question before we move.
Oh, is there any further discussion?
Yes. Are we gonna build it according to that, to 17 feet from the wall or 12? Did we decide on that?
Well,
Or does that
now
matter?
it's 17 as I understand it.
That's
Because that,
'Cause we-
that matches the 8
He
feet.
talked about moving it closer too. Ken.
No, I guess I'm not sure. I'm comfortable with the
I just
proposal
wondering
as
which
to
plans
12.
we're going on.
When I start thinking about the slope factors, I think this back wall is more stable than the front wall, is what I'm hearing.
So you're granting a variance of 8 feet right now. If you want to go to,
Is that, oh yeah, that's what they're
Oh,
voting.
okay,
I
that
forgot
would be-
about the
yeah.
8 feet. Yeah, that would.
Otherwise, it'd be a 13-foot.
yeah, so. you
Of 8 feet,
Could
that's-
do that if you want, you could make that change now if you wish to.
I don't, I just wanted to make sure it was,
The 13 feet would take them to 12?
To the 12-foot from the
I
retaining wall.
would agree with that.
Should
And
we,
I guess I would
do we
too.
hold off this motion and make that a condition?
We could just,
Well, that's what, we're basically, you state what the variance is.
so I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
And I will restate it to say that we're granting the variance of 13 feet to meet the required 25-foot setback from the toe of the bluff. And we're granting a variance to allow a structure on a buildable 2.2 acres in size, both conditioned on the conditions that we discussed. Does that do it?
That sounds real good to me.
Okay.
I'll second that if you need a second.
We do?
All right.
Can't go any further without one.
We have a motion and seconded to approve I'm sorry.
Go ahead, but before you actually vote, I guess I'm gonna roll call you. I want to read back the motion. So,
Okay, all right, I'll hold off.
okay, so, motion to grant a variance of 13 feet to meet the required setback from the toe of the bluff and a variance to allow development on 0.2 acres with the conditions as discussed. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Works for me.
Okay, I'll go through roll call. Ken Visker,
Yes.
Dana,
yes.
Brian,
No,
Larry,
Yes.
Ken Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, that's final action on the variance. It's
Motion
approved.
carried. Motion passed.
I guess I'll continue dealing with you and then do the process.
We did the minutes, right? We have any other old business? Hearing none, moving forward. Is there any other business to discuss? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. You raise your hand.
You know what?